Want to participate? Fill out a form. The link is in the description below. And thank you so much for 100 subscribers.
Just some kids who love to read. Our minds expand with every page we feed. We're discussing our books, getting lost in the plot. We're talking about heroes, villains, and what they have got. We're learning new words, our imagination's on fire. Books are a fuel taking us higher and higher. Yeah.
Classic, fiction, non-fiction biography, adventure, mystery, so much to explore. Books bring us together and we never get bored. We're just some bookworm kids, it's true, but we don't turn into worms. That's not what books do.
We love to read before we hit the sack, and dreams of fighting dragons, it's a fact. Sometimes we laugh, sometimes we cry. Books give us wings so that we can fly. We read about wizards, witches, and spells, and sometimes we pretend to have magic as well. Yeah. We are just some kids who love to read. Our minds expand with every page.
Welcome to Between the Pages. Today we're joined by Advika, a 7th grader who is a passionate fiction reader and has devoured countless books over the past 3 years. Not only is she an avid reader, but she is also an aspiring writer and has a strong connection to music. Let's welcome Advika. Hi Advika, it's a pleasure to meet you. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Of course. You know my name. I am 12 years old and I am from 7th grade, and I have been reading books since I was 9 years old.
That's interesting. So, what are your hobbies instead of reading?
I like swimming, I like trekking as well, and I am extremely obsessed with animals and their care.
Same. Okay. So, what book are you here with today?
I'm here with Hunger Games.
Would you like to tell us more about it?
Of course. So this book is about a girl named Katniss Everdeen. Her sister gets selected in this game in which you compete to the death. And because Katniss is very overprotective of her sister, she volunteers instead of her sister. And another boy from the same place, his name is Peeta. He is also selected for these games. These games are held by the Capitol, and the Capitol is basically the ruler of another city called Panem, and Panem is divided into districts. So Katniss and Peeta are from District 12, and every district has a girl and a boy who are competing in the Hunger Games. So they go for the Hunger Games and they fight, and in the end, both of them come out alive. And that's basically the summary of the first book. In the second book, Katniss and Peeta decide to start rebelling against the Capitol, and then there's a lot of deaths, and towards the end of the book, Peeta is taken hostage and he is completely brainwashed. And in the third book, which is my favorite, Katniss tries to rescue Peeta, but she tries and she just barely makes it out alive. They manage to conquer the Capitol, but very few people come out alive.
I see. So, what initially drew you to this book?
I started reading Harry Potter and Percy Jackson, and once I told my friends about reading this, one of my friends suggested Hunger Games. So I just picked it off of the shelf. I read the back. The back wasn't that promising, but okay, it's fine, I'll read it. And then after reading it, I was hooked.
I see. Okay. So, was there any particular character that you really related to?
I'd probably say the main character, who was Katniss, because I feel that her personality matches mine quite a lot.
Would you like to share some character traits she has that you might have?
She is not that forgiving, but she knows when she's made a mistake and she's okay to own it up. So she doesn't really like lying that much about things that are true. She's very protective about the things that she holds most dear, and once she gets an idea into her head, it's very hard to get it out.
I see. You had a chance to step into one of the characters' shoes, who would it be?
Katniss, definitely.
Why?
Because I really like her personality, and I feel that stepping into her shoes would be very interesting.
But you'd be like one step away from escaping death. That's fine by you?
Yeah, the thrill of it.
Okay, okay, I see. Were there any surprising twists or plots in the story that you didn't see coming?
I think one of the most interesting plots was when, in the first book, we knew that there would be only one survivor, either the girl or the boy. But then the way that both of them survived and the plan that Katniss came up with to save both of them was so shocking. It was like never expected.
I see. I want to read the book after hearing that. What do you think what do you think might be going through the author's mind when he was writing this, or he or she might be writing this book?
Well, I don't really know, but then because the book is so gory and it's very sensitive for many people, I suppose that the author had gone through a similar experience. So she's writing about this, but I
I
don't really
see.
know.
Okay. So I've also noticed that there's a TV series or something of the Hunger Games. So have you seen it?
Yes.
So do you prefer seeing that, or were you more attracted to the reading books?
Well, the movie, they just made it more depressing than thrilling. So, yeah, the movie was not that great.
So you prefer reading instead?
Yes.
I see. Uh, how did the setting of that story impact you as a reader?
I mean, once again, the first time that I picked out this book, I was extremely naive, and the setting of the story is like a ruined place with a lot of problems. So the setting impacted me. It was shocking. I was scared at first, but then eventually I was pretty used to it. So
Can you imagine yourself in any of the other person's shoes in like from the story?
the question's done.
Sure, but like, can you imagine yourself like that?
Not really. I can't imagine, but yeah, to some extent I can.
Okay. So, would you recommend this book to people your age?
People my age are usually not this well versed with these kinds of topics. So, if I do find someone who likes this kind of book, then definitely I would recommend. But if not, I won't.
So, how did you get started into books like these, like pretty violent and stuff?
I started reading Harry Potter, and I think after I read that book, I was actually interested in like reading more. So one of my other friends who had also read this series, she told me like, you should try out Hunger Games. So I tried it out, and while reading, I really enjoyed it. So I started reading more and more of the same kind.
And I'm sure that there were many metaphors and phrases used in the Hunger Games. So, was there any particular thing that stands out for you?
There's not those many of metaphors or phrases that are there, but then there are a lot of impactful quotes, which, if you think about them, they really do hit hard.
Would you like to share one of them?
I do not remember any of them.
How does this book stand out compared to other books you've read?
I think that most of the other books don't have such a good writing style as well as such a good plot. And I think that's what makes this book stand out because most of the other books, they either have a really bad plot line but a really good writing style, or a really good writing style but a pretty rusty plot, or sometimes it's both of them. The writing style isn't good, much less is the plot. So
I see. So, what was something that you really liked about the writing style for this?
I think I really liked the way that there was descriptions provided, but then they weren't a lot of descriptions, just enough for you to visualize.
I see. So we're gonna play a little game right now. I have these deck of cards in my hand. You can choose five of them, and then there's questions are written on them. I'm gonna ask them to you, and yeah, you gotta answer them. Yeah.
This one?
Yeah. Okay. Do you have any unresolved questions after reading books? Would you like to share any?
I think after reading this book, one of the questions that I had was what's gonna happen next? Because the ending was a very suspicious one. The book ended with a sentence that went, but there were much worse games to play. So, what was the author trying to explain by this?
I see.
So,
But then you got the answer once you read the other books, right?
yeah.
Okay. So, if you were to choose a song that describes your favorite book, what would it be?
Okay, this is a tricky one. I don't know what song I would pick to describe this book because it's a mixture of feelings. This book is romantic to some extent, but then it's also very thrilling, and I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, that's fine. Um, did the book remind you of any personal experiences or other stories you've read?
This book reminded me a lot about the Indian freedom struggle because there were a lot of things that happened in the struggle that have also happened in this book, like people being treated as slaves, a rebellion starting in which a lot of important lives were lost, and a lot of stuff like that. So,
I see. Moving on. Have you ever read a book that inspired you to try something new or pursue a new interest?
I think the first time I read the first book of Hunger Games, it made me really, really interested in trying out more sportive things because I am not a sporty person at heart. I do not have urges to go out in the outdoors and play something. So, but reading Hunger Games, it made me feel like, oh, I'm pretty lethargic, so why don't I go and try something? But then that ended up being a pretty big flop. So, yeah.
Okay. Last question. What is your biggest takeaway from the book?
I think the biggest takeaway that I have from this book is that if someone's life doesn't matter to you, it might matter to someone else. So just be careful with the words that you're saying. Be careful with whatever you do. You never know what might hurt someone else.
Wow, that's pretty big advice.
Yeah.
Okay. So, would you like to ask me any questions, Indra?
Yes. Can you suggest another good book or book series that I can read?
Uh, well, not I have not read a lot of book series, but during one of my podcasts, this girl talked about Almond. This is a book, and I'm sure like I was interested in that. I haven't read it yet, but I'm sure you'd enjoy it since but it's not like violent and stuff. It's about something else, and I'm sure you can figure it out by watching my next video.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Uh, yeah, okay. So now we have a ritual in this podcast. I have this diary here, and the previous guest wrote a question for you, and you're going to write a question for the next guest.
Okay.
Yeah, let me just. So the previous guest asked you, how many books have you read, and what type of books do you like to read?
I have read a lot of books. I think in the past 3 years, I've read well over 20 series, and separate books must have been maybe well over 50.
That's impressive.
Thank you. And I like reading books that are about war and that are about really sensitive topics for the society.
I see.
I also like reading books that talk about the possible future outcome of this world. So,
I see. That's impressive. Your chance to write a question.
Okay, what question do I write? Done.
Thank you so much. I was wondering if you'd like to share your experience on being here on the podcast.
Well, it's very exciting. I have never done such a deep study of this book as I have with the questions that you've asked. So, yeah,
I see. Thank
really
you.
good experience.
Thank you for joining us today. I hope you had a great time.
Yes, I did.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for inviting me.
Time to close the book, but don't worry, the stories really never end. Until our next adventure together, remember to keep your imaginations fueled, your laughter contagious, and your bookmarks handy. Until next time, it's me, Anna Lilani, closing the BTP book for this week. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel.